Hey guys, Chris Joseph here with Detroit Dispensing Solutions. I'm here with the CDS-1000. This is our automated concentrate dispensing system. The machine was designed and built from the ground up for the cannabis industry, focusing on all sorts of different types of concentrates from batters, butters, sugars, and live rosin and resin. So this machine is capable of taking any shot size from basically 0 grams to 100 grams and anything in between. You just set the shot size and you're off to the races. We are going to be using a plunger-based system, which allows us to move highly viscous materials compared to a pressure pot. This also gives us the advantage of not having any air in contact with our material as we're going through the dispensing cycle. This system is utilizing a pharmaceutical grade dosing pump. What this allows us to do is easily break the system apart, clean it, put it back together when you're going from batch to batch. One of the key features of this system is how we are going to feed the material into the pump. It's one of the most crucial points of this entire system. We can dispense any material accurately using our dosing pump, but the issue becomes how do you feed the pump consistently? So what we've designed here is a plunger-based system where we can actually take an air cylinder and we push the material down with a plunger into our pump inlet here. Now there is another trick to this. So what we've done to automate this a little bit further is we put a pressure transducer in line here. And what that allows us to do is as we're going through our dispensing cycles, we can monitor the pump's inlet pressure and we can continuously change on the fly the feed pressure to make sure we're constantly feeding that material into the pump. If we don't constantly feed material into the pump, it doesn't really matter how accurate this pump is, you're going to get inconsistent shot sizes. We wanted to make sure this system was extremely user-friendly, so we focused on being able to do everything via touchscreen. The whole process is actually very simple. Once we feed the bulk material into the pump to begin with, we need to go through a batch calibration. Basically what this is going to do is it's going to correlate the density of the material to how many pump rotations do we need to take to get a gram. So all we do for a setup like that is once we've purged material and we have good material coming out of our pump end here, we just go into our batch calibration, and what this is going to ask us to do is take a 1 milliliter shot. Since this is going to be a volumetric based system, we take that 1 milliliter and we're going to weigh it here on a scale. Once we know how much 1 milliliter weighs, we can tell the system, hey, 1 milliliter weighed 0.98 grams or it weighed 1.1 grams, whatever it may be. The system can then correlate how many pump rotations it needs to move in order to dispense 1 gram rather than 1 milliliter. We added a few features to this machine from the early prototype days to really just enhance the user experience, one of which was how we actually mount and package this system. So the first thing you're going to see here is the mump is mounted vertically, and the entire thing on the internals here has a gas shock system. What that does is it actually counterweights all of this. So I can actually take and move this pump up or down and just let it go, and it's going to stay right where you want it, making it a little more easy on the operator to get in and out to the dosing system. Another key ergonomic upgrade we've added to this system was actually how you put your tubes into the system. We really didn't want people having to move too many parts, screw stuff together, or unscrew stuff together. So what we've been able to do and come up with is a real simple system that we kind of call it the elevator system. Basically, you take your first clamp off that holds your tube to your elbow flange here. Take this knob and rotate it up, and that's going to free the tube from the system. And now you can slide it over, it'll tip down, and we can pop our tube out, drop another tube in, and we're back up and running. While the goal is always to dispense materials at room temperature, that's not always possible. In our testing, we found we can get the vast majority of systems through at room temp, but we wanted to make sure we could do everything. So to do that, we threw on a heater. Now this heater is going to remain off for the majority of the scenarios, but in the off chance you do need to impart a little thermal energy into your material, we can turn the heater on and it can help stabilize and keep your material at a slightly warmer temp. We're only talking about 25 degrees Celsius. Obviously, if we do have to put some heat to the material, the goal is to do it with the least amount of heat possible. In-house, we are doing all of our own design work and all our own machining, but there are a few specialty components that we do source. One of them being this dosing pump. We set out to find the best there was, and what we landed on was a German manufacturer who creates nothing but high-spec pharmaceutical grade systems. This pump here is full 316 stainless steel with a high surface finish. finish. It allows us to easily break it down with no tools, take it, clean it, put it back together, and be up and running as fast as possible. Like any of our equipment, we really wanted to make sure that even if we're using the best components available to us, we stick to our core premise of design philosophy, which is a modular design. What that means for us is everything that is connected from the outside of this machine to the inside is going to pass through a pigtailed connection system. What that allows us to do is, in the event of a failure, we can get you parts out next day air, and all we have to do is unplug the component by spinning a quick connector off, dropping the new part in, and plugging it back in. This really allows for anyone to work on the equipment, and you don't need to be a highly trained technical person. This machine stayed in its prototype beta testing phase for about 18 months from its original conception. Since then, we released this here at BizCon in 2023. From the time of BizCon, we've actually gotten about 50 of these machines out in the field, and we're seeing great success with the customers on an average fill rate of about 1,000 jars an hour. So now that we have a tube fully loaded into our system and we've done a quick purge out, we're ready to go through our batch calibration process. So what that looks like is we have a jar on our scale zeroed out, and we're going to start taking 1 milliliter shots, and that way we can correlate the density of the material to the weight. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab my zeroed out jar, and I'm going to take a shot in here. And we're going to start benchmarking. We're going to do about 3 of these shots and take the average shot size. So now that we've averaged our shot size, I can go into our batch calibration and tell it that the actual weight of the shots we're taking. So now that we've done that, we can set this jar aside. This is good material. We're going to recover that later. And as you can see, we're pretty much spot on right now. Everything seems to be working properly. What we can do is we can go into what we call just a normal operation, where we're just going to fill jar after jar, and we're going to let the system tell us when to check. So for right now, we have it set every 15 jars. We're going to do a checkpoint. What I like to do is I keep a jar zeroed on the scale, and I start filling. So when I've hit 15 shots, what's going to happen is our LED indicator light's going to start flashing orange at us, and we're going to get a message on the screen saying it's time to do a weight check because we've hit our threshold. So we take our zeroed out jar, take our shot, and we weigh it. And then we can see if we're still on track or not, or if we need to, if any changes happen, we can make a minor adjustment as needed. And that way we know that the 15 jars before that weight check all should be good to go, because that jar is still also good to go. So we got 5 jars on our scale now. We can go ahead and fill each one with a gram. So as you can see, we're within our 1% tolerance spec. And the other thing I want to go ahead and do real quick is show you that we are doing this material at room temp, so 21.3 degrees Celsius on this stuff. For additional information or any questions you guys may have, please reach out to sales@DetroitDispensingSolutions.com, and one of our technical experts can help you out.